Welcome back to Rise Within. Continuing our journey with the beautiful topic that we've been talking so far, relationship. Now it's time to dig in a bit deeper and understanding how we form relationships throughout our journey. Hi, Tanveer. Welcome to Rise
Hi,
Within.
hi, Abby. Our first relationship starts with our parents from the time we are born. And that's our first understanding of relationship. How we interact and how our relationship with our parents actually shapes who we are and
Right.
how we can heal from and grow from those understandings and learnings.
And lots to learn from them as well in terms of parenting, right? Probably their conditioning shouldn't be our conditioning. They might have filtered what they know. We should come from a place of no judgment because I truly feel that they did the best that they knew. For them, it was their experience carried on to shape us who we are. With a lot
Yes.
of gratitude, it shapes us who we are today, and we are eternally grateful. At the same time, there are some patterns which have been set, which I think it's never too late to heal.
So, how do we understand relationships and how does this relationship with our parents actually work? As we are born, even before we use words, understand logic, or we have any understanding of anything around us, just the way our parents treat us, like even while we are in their arms, and how we feel when they treat us that way, that shapes our understanding of what a relationship is, what love is, what intimacy is, what
Yeah.
boundaries is, what safety is. And as you grow, like when you're 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, how they treat you and how your relationship with them is actually shapes a major part of all your other relationships throughout your life, unless you
Right.
decide to change it. This is the
Rightly said.
foundation.
You rightly said it's not the words at that point till we are 4, 5 years old. It is even the touch, the feel, the presence, the absence, the silence, the protection. All that attributes to so many things that we didn't even know that helped us shape our idea of relationships.
Yeah, and like even observing, when you don't have the words, if you see your parents always fearful or very violent, even in their own life around them, you may that instill fear within you and the fear in relationships that you would have in your future. So that's how it develops in terms of your own life and experiences. Either you start repeating those experiences because that's what you know. And some people would ask, why would I repeat the same pattern? If my parents had an abusive relationship, why would I this? It is familiarity. Familiarity is
Yes,
safety. It is
true, true.
the known devil is better than an unknown friend.
Uh,
Yeah, the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind is always trying to keep you safe. So that's the reason we keep repeating the patterns till one day you decide, hey, this is not working for me, and you decide to change it. So you can always change those patterns. But the understanding of what love is, if the parent is constantly shouting and screaming to, and even as a child, whether you understand or not, that kind of anger, either you develop that anger within yourself and portray that in your relationships, or
yeah,
you go right within feeling very small, feeling unsafe in your own, it's closed to people, and your relationships with people will be very closed. It's not going to be open. Your heart gets closed. So you cannot have that intimacy that you would want in a relationship, whether it's with friends, whether it's with business relationship, any
yeah,
relationships it does affect. And if even if say your parents have been extremely loving, let's we look at negatives. Like we
yeah,
say, okay, it's a critical parent, and then you end up feeling less worthy, making yourself small. So even when you go for interviews or jobs, you're always with that energy. Or
yeah,
in your relationships with friends, you're feeling always small, you're not worthy. So when you're
yeah,
receiving gets blocked because you're not feeling worthy, because you're constantly being criticized. All
yeah,
right, the intention, we are not questioning this intention. We come to that in terms of capacity of the parent and what capacity can come. But if these are the
Yeah.
experiences we are having, or if the parent is extremely protective, is there with you all the time, is giving you everything, is pampering you, and then you do not understand that the only understanding you have in relationship is that I get, and I,
Yeah.
I don't give.
It's so easy. Everything
Yeah,
comes
it's so
so
easy.
easy. You don't
Yeah.
have to, yeah.
Then you
So
become
you
over
don't have to
demanding
try
from
that
life.
hard.
Yeah, then you
Yeah.
become over demanding from life, and obviously
Yeah.
life disappoints, and then you are able
Right.
to manage that emotionally. So emotional quotient goes down. So a small
Yeah.
fight with a friend or disappointment, rejection in an interview can take you in a
Yeah.
downward spiral mode. Even too much of good. As a parent, is I would like to
That's
do
true.
this. It's all my
Yeah.
love and it's all my being protection and support and all of that. Yeah, I want to give the freedom. But as a parent, the parent may be giving the freedom, but child may feel the parent is not available or parent is not there. The
Yeah.
child may feel completely different. That's how the
Yeah.
child will develop their own belief system, because from childhood also what you are hearing from your parents forms your belief system.
Absolutely. And relationship styles as well. The scariest one that I have seen, Tanvi, is the silent treatment, right? So when you do something wrong and you're given the silent treatment, you're guessing, what did I do wrong? Because as a child, you don't really know. You do so many things if you're naughty by nature.
Mm.
You don't really know that what are you being punished for. That's it. That creates, number one, setting boundaries. It's so difficult for a child to set boundaries because they don't know the limits, because the
Yeah.
parents have not told them that you have crossed your limit. This was your limit and you've crossed it, right? So the silent treatment, basically, this kid is totally confused. What did I do wrong? The
Mm.
second thing is that then they try and get the attention. So if, for example, if your mother is not talking to you, what would you do? You would jump around her or do all tricks just to get her to speak to you. So you end up doing tomfoolery on the street to get attention, which
Yeah.
again becomes a pattern as you grow up. Because the
Yeah.
moment you see you're not getting what you want, what do you start doing? You start crossing the boundaries just to
Yeah.
check whether you're right or wrong. That is usually what happens when it comes to the other extreme, where the parents totally go quiet.
Another example is if the parents pattern with the relationship with the child is such that, okay, every time you do good you get rewarded. All right. And that's such a normal thing where parents' way of getting things done from the child is, okay, I'll reward you.
Yeah,
They feel okay teaching something to the children. But after a certain limit, they understand that they are constantly seeking validation, because that's the only
yeah,
way they get rewarded. Whether they get the love, if you do this, I'll give you a hug or a chocolate, with that, right? They're constantly chasing validation rather than it being, okay, sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just praise them and keep it there. Sometimes you fight also. So there is a balance as a parent, but every time it is the only time you get something is out, by doing something. It's like you're constantly chasing validation and this, and that's how, whether it's in your job, with friends, what happens is
yeah.
people pleasing starts, because that is the pattern you learn in
Absolutely.
relationships. That's how you learn relationships are. So the now when you look at all of this, it is not as, okay, our parents wrong. Parents are not wrong. Each parent,
Yeah,
as you rightly said, is is doing their best what they know best. It is from their own conditioning. Where would they know how to raise a child? Is probably the way they have been raised as children.
they've seen, right?
What they have
Yeah,
seen around them. And plus they
right,
are also clouded by their own fears, by their own belief systems, by their own
right.
emotions. They, even our parents, for example, wherever they have the capacity to tend to emotional need of all the child, forget the physical need. The physical needs also, and they could barely meet the physical needs of the child. Forget the emotional need. Like they would have
Right.
6, 7 children, joint family, so much of social
Yeah.
pressure, housework,
Yeah.
everything to be done, so many things to be looked after. Where would they have the capacity? to even
In the Indian scenario, somebody who's a housewife in our parents' generation, for that job, according to the world, was not a job, but it
yeah,
was a full time job, bringing up so many children. And especially when it comes to the concept of marriage, it
hmm,
was not only validations from the husband, it was the in laws and all the relatives. The pressures were immense for our parents. And
yeah,
having so many children, now our generation is a little different, where
yeah,
max I've seen three or four, but their generation, it was huge.
yeah,
So everybody was literally had such a small window of attention
yeah,
from their parents, right? They
yeah,
grew up in a crowded space.
yeah,
And especially if you are living in a joint family,
yeah.
you're literally in a mob trying to get your voice heard. And that's how you end up getting so loud because you probably would have got lost in that crowd.
Each parent, like as a generation, they are also evolving and learning. Our generation, we are used to be in complete control of our parents. So when we become parents, like our generation become parents, they either do this, repeat the same pattern because out of course, or they say, okay, I have been so controlled, I will give full freedom, which was the opposite, the other extreme,
The other
right?
extreme, right?
The other
Yeah.
extreme. So the pattern in the relationship with parents, that how we have been raised and how we raise our children. Again, it all how we raise our children, our relationship with our children has a lot of influence from how we have been raised. Every parent does what is best, even if they are beating up their children, or even if they're abusing or they're locking up the children. If our parents have done this to us, but their intention was good, that's the only way they knew.
That's what they saw, right? For them, beating or locking them up was nothing. It was happening in every household. Now,
Yeah,
to be honest, we consciously think about it twice to even raise a hand, or forget raising a hand, but raising a voice. That is a huge deal right now. It has
yeah,
gone to other extreme. And to be
yeah,
honest, in a way, it is good because our generation had a lot of trauma, embedded trauma, when it came to physical abuse. Some of us were lucky, our parents were educated and all that. But when I come across some instances of my peers, it was absolutely extreme in parenting there, wherein it used to be physical abuse. I think that left a huge dent in people's lives.
they are
It is.
understanding. They had
Yeah.
only that kind of understanding. In our
Yeah.
generation, we have more understanding about the feelings, the emotions. And I think our parents at that time were still more in the survival mode. For them, it was put the food on the
True.
table, have the safety, the roof on your head, and we were on the
Yeah.
survival mode. As we have grown and progressed in our generation, now we are more in the thriving. Basics are we know are taken care of, that we have the
Yeah.
education and all of that. So now the next level of our needs, that is the emotional needs, is where we, and now the future generation goes much beyond that, goes more into
Absolutely.
mental and spiritual aspects of it, because now even their emotional needs met. That's the growth progression. However, what is important is we do not blame, we understand. So when we look
Yeah.
at and when we reflect at our childhood and our relationship with our parents, there will be anger, there will be grief, there will be resentment, there will be grudges.
Yeah.
Once we look at how do we look at it and we have an understanding that, you know, they're doing what they knew best, even
Yeah.
if it's not what we agree to or what we understand different. That's what they knew best. They did not know anything better. So we remove the blame from it, first of all. And we look at ourselves in terms of how it is affecting us. As we understand
Yeah.
that, okay, a parent has been extremely critical, for example, and judgmental about it. That is
Yeah.
their way of helping us to become better so that we can cope with life overall. That is their way of doing. So when you understand that, the grudge and resentment towards our parents and our experience with our parents also dissolves, then you can make a different choice. I can be in this mode saying that, oh, my mother did this, that's why I'm like this, or my father was never available, and
Yeah.
this and that. And I can keep ranting that story. Or I can observe it for what it is. And I say, okay, he wasn't available. Can I make a different choice? This is how it has affected me. That may have affected me
Yeah.
negatively. And because of an unavailable, that's how people, like, sometimes unavailable parents, then the people attract unavailable partners, emotionally unavailable,
Yeah.
or those kind of things. So once you see the pattern, you can make a different choice. So what am I doing with? And what is also important is, because we don't even realize, we internally, unconsciously blame our parents for whatever we are doing, even if it's not conscious, because in our mind, we are not supposed to. Their parents are like gods and all of that.
Yeah.
So consciously, you don't want to blame that, but unconsciously, subconsciously, you're blaming your parents. And then you feeling guilty for blaming the parents because that's the wrong thing to do. All right. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of resentment and guilt within our subconscious mind. The best way to resolve it and heal it is forgive.
Absolutely.
Forgive, and you say, okay, they are parents. We cannot, how the forgiveness people have a thing that if you're above, you forgive the lower kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about the energy, releasing and letting
Yeah.
go of the energy. And you forgive them for whatever they've done. And this, how does the forgiveness come? Through the understanding that they did their best. Understanding that was their situation, that was their experience. Even if it has been an abusive father or an unavailable mother or a critical mother, however worse that
Yeah.
was. Okay, so I'm not undermining the experience. The only thing I'm understanding where they have come from, and I just forgive them. And as we
Yeah.
resolve and dissolve these feelings of grudges and resentment to forgiveness, our relationship starts changing. Whether it's our with
Absolutely.
friends, with
Yes.
siblings, with business, and our own personal relationship, partnership, all of this starts changing just by this one small thing that you can do. There are a lot of other ways of healing trauma and all. It depends on how deep the trauma is and what kind of experiences. That's a different topic. But to start with this shifts a lot of energies and
Absolutely.
experiences.
Yeah. If we heal our past, our future is better, lighter, more easier to navigate. It gives us a very clear picture that I don't want to do the things that others did. So let's forgive them, move on, create a life which is best and apt for ourselves.
True. Leave the past where it is. You understand what
Yeah.
it is, forgive, and let go of it. Most people,
Right.
and how our patterns have been many places, is that we make that change while holding on to that grudge, because that grudge, that
Yeah.
resentment, that anger, that grief that our parents, whatever their
Absolutely.
relationship was, helps you to get better. However, you don't need to hold on to that fear
You don't.
to
Yeah.
get better.
Absolutely.
You can forgive, let go, and you can get better through your awareness. The moment you're aware of it, you're good, and you can let go
Absolutely.
of it.
Great. Lovely topics, Tanveer, which basically sets motion to our life and shapes our future and our ideas of relationship and everything that we know. In fact, our first love happens to be our parents. That's where we learn love from. And like you rightly said, to let go of the bad and embrace the good. That's what should be our way forward. Thank you, Tanveer. It was a wonderful episode. And looking forward for the next episode where we go forward and look at another angle of relationships.
Thank you so much, Abby. It was wonderful talking to you. See you again next week.
Absolutely. Take care. And all of
Bye.
you, subscribe and share this with whoever who might just want to see something like this. Thank you. Bye.